Horsepower, Chrome, and Rust, covering car culture and the automotive world with Brady Wright and Steve, the producer, Johan. Let's see what's up this week.
And as you are well aware by now, it is Tuesday, June 16th. This is 2020. Brady Wright, your cordial host. Steve Johan, the producer, joining millions of listeners on this 140...
At least 10.
Yeah, well, 1,010,000.
Yeah.
It's the 141st episode of Horsepower, Chrome, and Rust. Now, you can find us on iTunes. You can find us on iHeart Podcast, Spotify, of course, Podomatic.com. We thank you for liking and following our Facebook page, and for licking our Facebook page, too. All the latest shows are there, including our archives and this particular show.
Yes.
I have a mustache hair. This particular show is very
That looks really good on video.
This is a really cool show because we actually have the honor to introduce our newest co-host to the show. We've been kind of searching for the right kind of guy to show up, and we couldn't find one, so we grabbed Ron Foreman instead. Ron is the president and the founder of the Rat Bastards Car Club. He's a hot rod builder for many years. He's also an fully inducted member of the Washington State Hot Rod Hall of Fame. And one of the many reasons for that, of course, is his commitment to bringing the fun of building and driving all kinds of hot rods to the new generation of car enthusiasts. Welcome to the show, Ron.
Thank you.
Hey,
glad to be here.
We are glad to have you. So normally at this time we would be taking a little look at what's going on in the industry, but you're kind of, you're here, and we're going to be doing a big embarrassing splash of publicity for you on the website. But I thought I would just let people kind of get to know you. We know that you've been doing the Rat Bastards for quite a number of years. When did you actually start the club?
About 99.
99.
Yeah.
And so what did that first year look like?
It was pretty exciting.
What?
Because a lot of people, we go to swap meets before we ever had a car show and sell our T-shirts and promote our show, promote our club, and meet a lot of people. So they love the name, they love the T-shirt.
Sure.
And just built from there.
How many members did you have the first year?
The first year, I would say maybe 10.
Yeah. And you built it up pretty good. I don't know how
That was 99, right?
99, yeah. I don't know how many people in the club now, but there's more than 10.
Well, the active members, there's probably 20, 25.
Yeah.
But
you've
there's
got
a
more
lot of members out
But
there.
99, how big was the Rat movement at that time? It was just really kind of in the beginning, wasn't it?
Just scratching the surface.
That's what I thought, yeah. That's amazing. So you're like a pioneer when it comes to...
I guess so. I don't know. That's why it's always been a new class of old school.
Right.
And that's the mantra, and that's what it started out as, and it's kind of grown from there.
It has.
Perfect.
And Ron, the car club is at so many shows all through the season, although not this season since, the COVID has made us all stay inside. But generally speaking, you can see the Rat Bastards at just about every show in the Pacific Northwest and other places as well. And in addition to new class of old school, the other sort of tagline for the club is it's not what you buy, it's what you build.
That's true.
And that's a fun thing. There's a lot of car clubs, tons and tons of car clubs who get together to kind of show off their cars or drive their cars or go someplace. But one of the things that attracted me to the club in the first place is that the people in the Rat Bastards, they're all about not only building their cars, but helping you build yours if that's what it takes. I mean, it's the way the hot rod community sort of started way back in the day.
That's where the new class of old school comes in. And we have an infestation. Started out our first car show was at the Triple X and Jose and Jose Jr. Like them here next week. But I'm going to read you our mantra.
Okay, do that.
I'm going to clear up some. So the Rat Bastards Car Club is a family-oriented, nonprofit organization. Believe in 1969 or earlier or older, which if you prefer to say. In the rough is enough. Real steel and iron, old school, as long as safety and money will allow. Traditional hot rods and cool customs. Now, the reason why I do that, we have like a core group that inspects new members' cars, make sure they're safe and sound and roadworthy. Besides just being able to roll down the road, you got to stop as well.
Driving is good. Stopping is also
now,
good.
is that kind of a stipulation for the club then?
You have to be safe. You have to be safe
that
and
makes
sound.
a lot of sense
there's a lot of stuff out there on the road that's really.
Oh, I've seen some Barney Rubble cars out there. Yeah, I mean,
Yeah.
where you're putting your foot through the floor and you're trying to stop.
Oh,
and you can't do that. That's not safe.
None of the reason.
go ahead.
Let me interrupt you. I'm sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt you.
No,
It's just
sorry.
that I wanted to say that we used to have, being as you see lots of different club members at different shows, wherever two or more gather is an infestation. Ergo, the name of our car show.
There you go.
I like it.
So that's where that came from. This
Nice.
festival.
I like that too. Well, Ron, of course, has been a guest on our show a couple of times, more than a couple, actually. And we're really, really happy that you decided to come in and join us. It's going to be a lot of fun. Now, for those of you watching the video, there's a couple of other people in the studio, one of whom you cannot see. But sitting right next to me is Tim Divers, who is going to be our interview this particular show. So, hi, Tim. Glad you're here. We'll jump to you in just a little bit. But yeah, welcome to Ron, and now Steve is going to have to make new business cards with Ron's name on them. So we'll get to that. Usually, this segment takes up what we call Back to the Blacktop. Steve collects automotive news and information and stuff, and I imagine you have a few things we can talk about this time around.
Well, I do. It's a very interesting. Things are messed up when Ford is preparing to debut its long-awaited Bronco. Now, get this, on July 9th.
I see.
Which just so happens to be the birthday of perhaps the most famous or infamous Bronco owner of them all. And who might that be?
O.J. Simpson.
Oh, you've got Ron. You ding, 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 ding. You've got it. O.J. Simpson. Now, who in their mind decided to do that? That was not an accident. So that's pretty amazing.
Maybe
isn't it?
Yes, it was an accident.
It was a big accident.
Yes. Well, now the cat is out of the bag. And in the meantime, because of that, they may be pulling their Edge and their Lincoln Nautilus in regards to their thinking they're going to get a good amount of sales off the Bronco, and then they can kind of slowly offload those vehicles.
Of all of the sort of original SUVs or, that type of vehicle, the Bronco is the 67 to 77 Bronco is the single most popular one.
With Google, people have to realize when they put dates down, you better do a search. Is it tied to something we don't want to be tied to? Well. That is amazing. And then good news, after almost a full week after the cyber attack, Hunt is now back into full operation here. And so we are happy to hear that. Because they got attacked with a cyber virus, and now things are going. More good news. BMW's move to bring its manufacturing to the U.S. 26 years ago. That's a long time ago. I didn't realize it was that long ago. Continues to be paying off with the most recent milestone of, guess this, the 5 millionth vehicle rolling off the assembly line. That is cool.
Is that 5 million?
5 million vehicles all told.
Wait a minute, or 5 million produced in the U.S.
In the U.S.
Okay, so not all told.
No, okay. That is really cool.
Yeah, that's very cool.
For 26 years, kudos for them. And then latest news from Uber and Lyft, and you probably seen this one coming. The nation's two largest ride-hailing services got word this past week that they will have to treat their drivers as employees rather than contractors. And my son is a Uber driver at times, and so I'm going to ask him about that, what he feels like that is all about.
We will tax you.
Yes. Then bad news coming from the Tesla quarters as Tesla is struggling with its Model Y quality issues. Reports say that the Model Y crossover has been coming to customers with significant defects, including loose seat belts and back seats that are not attached to the base, and numerous other things, according to an insider report. So here we go. Now, I know our guest is a builder, and he would not allow something to roll out of his shop with unworkable seat belts. But, hey, when you're Tesla, you can kind of not get away with it, and they're going to get nailed.
I don't know. I think so.
And then from this, from a stupid side comes a truck driver who was arrested last week for crossing the border from Canada into New York with $3 million worth of marijuana and crates of coffee grounds. I guess it's not legal in New York yet, because here in Washington State, you don't need to do that. It's all
got their
legal.
Own set of rules. Hey, thanks for tuning in. Coming up on the Windshield View, as mentioned, we welcome Tim Divers to Horsepower, Chrome, and Rust. Plus, yes, there will be more from Ron Foreman. count on it.
My mind's out of gear, and my heart's in overdrive. I've everything to fear.
Horsepower Chrome and Rust is back with the first half of the windshield view, and we are glad to have the owner of Top Notch Custom and Fab Shop that turns out everything from modifications to turnkey cars. Welcome back, Tim Divers. Tim Divers of Divers Street Rods.
Nice.
All right, got to give
First
Ron.
it's all easier after that.
Yes, it is.
Tim,
Got
welcome
that
to
one
the
out of the
show.
way.
Yeah, nice.
Thanks
welcome
for having
to the show,
me. You
man.
did great, Bron.
Yeah.
Like I said, I'm not going to read it. So
That's good. So Tim has a shop that's out in Startup, right? Are we in Startup?
we technically are in Sultan.
All right. So all of these are smaller towns on the Highway 2 corridor heading east out of Seattle, and it's a whole collection of funky little towns. They're all pretty cool, and so Tim's got a shop out there called, strangely enough, Divers Street Rods. And I have to say, before we jump into anything else, I went, we usually do some sort of prep and kind of find out a little bit about whoever we bring in, and I went to your website. That is one of the coolest websites I have seen for an independent shop. Did you do that yourself, or you got a designer?
I'm not the techie guy, so my kid, my wife, we got a guy named Shane that helps us. So the younger generation, they got that thing down.
It is super good looking.
Yeah,
there are some projects in there that I definitely want to talk to you about. But, yeah, it's great. So what it says is everything from complete restorations to turnkey cars. That's your kind of slug line. And I love it. You also say, why follow the pack when you can be the leader? So tell me how long you've been doing this, and how did you get from there to where you are?
How long is this show? Because
well,
I started doing cars when I was 13.
Cool.
With my brother. Anyhow, my dad's cousin owned a garage, so and it was a service station repair shop. So just kind of grew up in a car family anyhow. So, I mean, we started doing go-karts, but at the beginning, we didn't figure out how he did the steering because it actually steered backwards when you turned it, so he didn't have the geometry down. But we learned that.
We used to use ropes.
We got that down. And then our next one was direct drive, and the throttle was set up where you let go of the pedal, and it was wide open and then you push down on it to slow down.
See, that's a learning curve.
Yeah, that's a learning curve.
Yeah.
My buddy had a lawnmower for his, and it was the pull, the pull throttle thing, and we would just pull it to go fast and then slow it down and go that way. But I don't think we had brakes.
Yeah, we didn't have brakes.
No brakes.
No. And it was direct drive. We didn't have a clutch. We couldn't afford a clutch. So we had a lot across the street from our place. So all the kids would bring their go-karts or tote goats or whatever over there. But it was like our home track. So we had the time down, right? So and we had this thing my brother helped put together that was direct drive with the motor. And so we pretty much knew the track. So kind of had a little bit of advantage there, but we had fun. I mean, I remember one time because the throttle was on the pedal and it was just spring loaded, so it would be wide open. I was passing a guy and I ended up getting hooked up on his wheel and then shot into the fence. Well, that's my old man's fence, right? So and as soon as we hit the fence, we had this steering wheel made out of metal rod bars, right? And I was locked in there. The fence was molded around my hands, so I couldn't, and my foot was jammed off to the side, so the thing's wide open and churning against the fence because I can't push down on the throttle. So
I'm going to die.
So I think we learned a little bit more as we went, but that's kind of where we started. And then
you still offer that throttle as an option to your customers.
Yeah, certain customers.
Yeah. So they only leave once, and they never come. Very satisfied guy. Never came back. That's great. So what kind of stuff are you building now?
Gosh. Well, we're finishing a little Mustang, a 66 Mustang with the Detroit Speed front clip in it. He wanted our DSR on it, so it's DSR 350 just as a pun kind of thing. But it has we've used their suspension before. It's got uses C6, C7 geometry. And it's a coil-over back, and it's using we got rid of the shock towers, and it's running a Coyote motor, but we put cams in it.
Nice.
And then we're doing a 64 Corvette It's got a Morrison chassis that we modified, and
Art's been on the show a couple. Yeah,
built our own floorboards on it. It's kind of in the paint process.
Okay.
And then we got a 47 Dodge pickup truck that used to belong to his brother, and his brother passed away, and he kind of do a memory. It used to be a flatbed, but we turned it. We just used the pickup bed,
right?
Or the cab, and then we built our own bed. But it's running a Viper motor.
Of course it is.
And we're running we got a 66 Nova that we're doing with the. Geez, we got a lot of. I used to only have so many in rotation, like 3 or 4.
Right.
Well, how many square feet have you got?
Well, between both shops, about 14,000 square feet.
Well, that's pretty good sized. Yeah.
Yeah. So the paint shop's kind of separate. So
you have a paint shop as well.
Yeah. So our thing is turnkey, like it says. We don't really. We've restored a couple things, but we're mainly hack things up. So when we did that Pontiac Swiss cheese car, which was a valuable car, people were going, "Are you guys not going to cut that up, are you?" Because we usually cut up the cars. But we don't do partials anymore, so we pretty much just do turnkey. So as I was listening to that, we think we should kind of, because we get a lot of people stop by the shop, "Hey, can you build a hood? And can you do an interior? Can you paint my car?" And we've got so much going on for full turnkey cars that we can't take the time, and I don't want to add any extra guys to it, because it'd be like if your car was in the shop or your car is in the shop, and every time you came in I was building another hood or my brother's doing another interior. So we try to just do turnkey, and then we opened it up to where if your car's in the shop, then we'll do a honeydew on one of your other cars. You got it? But I think I'm going to stop doing that, because it's like, oh man, some of that stuff that they bought. And I'm not saying we're perfect at it, but we kind of, it's like what you're talking about. I mean, pull this seat out and it's got household insulation R24 on the back of the seat. So I think
it's interesting. You kind of never, they say you never write the book you start out to write, and you never build the car you start out to build. Things happen. And as a shop, I would suspect that, you find sort of a rhythm doing the things that you're good at or the things that you like. And, it turns into what your customers want the most of and what you get known for doing. So, I'm not surprised that the shop sort of evolves over time. What the question I was going to ask you, which you kind of already answered, was what do people come to you the most and ask for you to do? But you kind of got there.
Yeah, I guess, like you said, it evolved, right? I mean, it's kind of one of those things where we didn't just start out doing full turnkey cars. My brother did interior. My brother taught himself how to sew. He taught himself how to paint. And so it kind of evolved into building cars. But as we started doing that, then customers come into us for something different, right? And so they want something different than somebody else has. But it's really the journey and the experience with each other, because they have the car, right? And they go, okay, this is a car I want to start with. I want you guys to kind of do your thing, but these are the ideas I have. And I say, no, we're not going to do that. No, we work together, and we build something that we wouldn't. If we just built cars, then we build everything that we would build. It was ours, right? I mean, it would be the same.
You would start having the signature look for everything versus when someone comes in from the outside, they're adding their DNA to the car. So now you've got this multiple DNA, multiple ideas. And I always find that there's synergy that happens. I used to play in music, and if I write my own music and kind of bring it in, or one of them did, you could always tell who wrote that song. But when we kind of said, I got an idea, and you work together, all of a sudden the song becomes 10 times better than if I just brought it in by my own self. And I think when you're, as a builder, these guys are feeding you, and not only money and ideas, but they're saying, well, can we try this? And you're like, well, we've never tried it before. Am I correct on that? This goes on?
Yeah. So I think I'm going to steal that idea and just say, hey, we're jamming, because that's what we used to do in the band, right? You just jamming. Hey, you play a little lick. And so, so they may not understand the how we're going to get to that point. So sometimes it's, I hate to say, I'm not an educated guy, so educating them, but educating on what I know, and we want them built safe, Ron, like you were talking about. So I think it's really important that we make sure that we guide them, with them allowing them to be creative too.
Well, that is so cool. That is so cool.
Well, there's lots more that we can talk about. There's no doubt. We have the second half of the segment coming up in just a little bit, so the Windshield View will be right back. We got more Tim Divers. You are listening to Horsepower, Chrome, and Rust.
Yep.
back in Vehicle City.
Yes, we are in Vehicle City, back with the second half of the Windshield View on Horsepower, Chrome, and Rust. Our guest is Tim Divers of Divers Street Rods, and he is just a wonderful builder, great guy. And, you know, we didn't mention, but he's had a car, at least one, in the SEMA show.
That is true.
And you don't find very many of those people. We try to find them and get them on the show. And you're a local hero, Tim. So did you think that your car would ever, any of your cars would ever be a part of a SEMA show, since it's like the granddaddy of custom car places to be part of?
Gosh, this is going to sound terrible. No, you know, we got SEMA going. We went to SEMA. I think first one was the GT39. We were invited there for I think a Hot Rod Alley for their dinner banquet. They had 5 cars there, and then we were fortunate to win a Mother's Shine Award.
Excellent.
And we use Mother's products now because we get them free.
Oh yeah,
absolutely.
Am I supposed to say that? Yeah,
sure. Why not?
It's sponsored. And then we started with Notch. You know, Mike Warren that we built for Rambo for. You know, he's been a long-time customer friend. You know, we went to his kid's wedding, and, you know, I mean, and he suggested, hey, Tim, you can't build cars all your life, and that's when he suggested us we start building some parts and pieces. So he said it makes you money while you smoke your cigar on your back deck. But one day when I was feeling afraid and insecure, I called him up and I said, hey, if this doesn't work, guess whose deck I'm going to be on and whose cigars I'm going to be bumming.
There you go.
You know
right.
what I mean? Because so we've been doing SEMA for what, I think 7 years now or better.
Excellent.
So we've had a couple cars there, but there wasn't our intent to bring cars there. They've turned it into more of a car thing. It's mainly for manufacturers.
Yes.
Right.
But I get it because with the TV shows and stuff. I mean, we were more like the you know, Oakland Roadster Show was big for us.
Oh, yes.
And then, of course, Riddler. Some of the big car shows are
you've
even
done a ton of those.
So,
Good Guys and Portland Roadster and all that stuff.
Yeah, so I think that's SEMA's grown, and I think it's because of the I don't think this is wrong, media. Yeah, which they want that. That's good, right?
Sure.
But it's more of a TV kind of thing, and they got signing autographs. So as a company, I'm just wondering, and I'm not the smart guy, but my son, you know, has helped running the company as far as the parts and pieces and the guys, is we're there to sell products not to the guy that is down the street or stops by the shop. We're selling to Summit, Jigs. I mean, that's who we're supposed to be dealing with. We're not. So it's a big expense to go there.
Yes,
so I'm
it
kind of
is.
conflicted with, you know, I'm the old guy that's like, hey, bring another car. It's a lot of work to bring a car there. And then there's people that are trying to open the door. They don't realize it's a car show either, you know. So I think it's a pretty big honor to have one there. So I don't want to say it's not.
Speaking of parts, do you have a distributor who, you know, like Summit does? Don't they have like a catalog and the whole bit where they're a distributorship for automotive products? Am I correct on that?
Right. Yeah. So again, my customers become my friends, and they're successful businessmen. So I'm always tapping into their, hey, dude, what do I do next? So one of the times we came back from SEMA, they said, you know, this is a great idea. What's your international pricing and your this and do you have a patent on this, and what do you sell for this? And it's like, I don't know. I build cars. I just, you know, so I called up Mike. I said, these guys, he goes, so let me hook you up with a guy that worked for Warren Winch. So Warren Industry was his company that built the winches. And so he hooked us up with him, and he in turn taught us how to get reps that already were in working with these companies. So, you know, I got my feelings hurt because I was like, I want a Riddler. I call SEMA and I go, hey, I got this great part. And it's like, click.
Oh, yeah.
It's like, they don't know me from Adam, and they're not really, I mean, I'm not saying they're not all car guys, but it's not, you know, you're dealing with something completely different.
Right.
So it was a great experience for us to kind of find out that direction, and it'd be taken in with one of Mike's old guys to do it. And he's a good old boy. And so the guys say that already dealing with Summit Racing, they're already a rep. They come in, hey, I don't know what the guys, my son will go, you don't know, you know, Joe, you know, how you doing? And hey, I got this new product these guys are doing. Hey, they build hot rods, but they're building this really good product. What do you think you should take a look at it? Because they already have a relationship with those guys.
Yes.
So since they had the relationship with them, and they make their money after we sell it. So I think they get like 5%.
There's a percentage or commission or something. Sure.
So, they're not going to bring it into their guys and say, hey, let's sell it, because they figure if they're willing to bring it to me, I guess, Summit, then it might be worth checking into and selling.
Well, they also have to be reasonably confident that you can produce enough units to make it worth their while. I mean, if you're a one-off kind of guy, they're probably not going to be interested. But whereas if you've got a manufacturing, capability, I can make, I'll make up a number. I can make 1,000 of these a month. Now you got somebody who's willing to rep you, because that's going to be money in their pocket. So the whole machine starts to turn a little bit faster. Speaking of your products, let's just walk through that, because on your website, the website is diversstreetrods.com, and there is a section in there about your products. But give us a quick look at your product line. What else stuff you make?
Well, Notchhead. So Notchhead was brought out of when we went to Riddler.
Right.
We my brother designed this 7-notch bolt, because the old car shows you had to line up the bolts, or all that kind of things, or it was kind of figuring out what the fasteners. So he thought a 7 is not an even number, and anyhow, so that stuff was all based on without the Ferrari motor that was in the Rambler, so it was all studs, but. So we machined the 7-notch design on there. So that's kind of what, and then people go, man, that'd be kind of cool to have those bolts. And then Mike suggested, and then it moved into, we got a great R&D place, right? We're building custom cars, so we're every day guys are thinking of new things to put on the cars. It's the only difference is we wouldn't make the same gas pedal for your car as we're going to make for his car or your car. So we had to have a mindset of, okay, what parts do we think that the guys would use? So then it became these clips, which we use that are for brake lines, fuel lines. They're a clip in, clip out, clip.
I was looking at those specifically because I got a build-in process, and I'm like, I could use some of those.
Yeah, and you know what? I'm like, it's got to work, and I want to make some good products, because. Sure. I still got to build hot rods, because if it doesn't work, I still want to. I don't, I guess ego pride. I don't want anything out there that I wouldn't put on.
Well, sure,
of
course. And there's also money that you sunk into R&D and everything else. You don't want to have that go flat on you. I mean, the whole point of doing it is to make a profit. For those of you who are watching on video, you can't see. Tim's wife Deanie is over here. She's not on camera, but when I said make a profit, she's like, that's.
She knows better.
Yeah.
Well, I was going to, speaking of wife. And family, I want to pull back a little bit. What's unique about your shop is you do have your brother, you have your son, at least one son. Talk to us a little bit about your staff and the family sense of life there that makes yours kind of a unique shop.
Yeah, I guess the thing is that, again, it evolved, right? It's just like, hey, we're working out together, and my brother... He's uber talented, and I don't know if he'll ever listen to this, but so I can brag him up a little bit.
You could send him a link.
He could. He's one of those guys. He could build a Riddler car on his own. He could paint it. He could upholster it. He could do the metal work. So he's just got that.
Right.
That's how he's built. Right.
Yep.
He's got shitloads of tube projects going on and creativity. So I got my brother there, and then my son, and he kind of came in the fold, and he was like the shop. He calls it something, but I'm not going to call it on there. But he's kind of the shop dog because he's the owner's son, and he didn't really get a chance to learn a lot when he was growing up, because I was busy trying to make a living. So I was working 6-7 days a week, trying to just make a living. So he didn't learn to weld. I mean, he learned that from my other guys. Once I started adding guys, and I put him in there, hey, go work with the painter for a while. Go work with this guy for a while. So my son there, and he kind of evolved, and he's kind of a techie guy, so it was easier to kind of run him into the Notchhead things just because of the percentages and the web page stuffs and the sheets. And then, of course, my wife, I buy high, sell low, try to make them volume, so she tries to keep us afloat, but she does all the paperwork. So you think about us car.
Important. My wife does the same thing for me.
You think about car guys or regular guys. It's really a weak area for me, and it's
me
like
too.
It takes a lot of time, and it's like I need to be out there, so I really count on her. And then my son-in-law, he works for us now, and then the other two guys, they're like family anyhow, so it's kind of like a family atmosphere.
Right.
And the good thing is we're a small shop. Bad thing is we're a small shop. So, benefits and certain things, but hey, if a guy needs a day off, or hey, if something happens, we can float him. We'll try to float him as long as he's like a family member, right? I can't, if he's bought a Porsche, he's going to have to take it back. But, I'm going to make sure his family gets fed, So it is kind of that family dynamics.
Now, when I was looking on your website, you've got a is it the Lincoln that's got the side opened hood?
What
do you call that? A cantilever or whatever? Not a cantilever, but anyway, it opens on the side.
Yeah.
Is that something, I've not seen that before, but I suspect it's not original. Is that something you fabricated and created to make work that way?
Yeah, and everything comes from somewhere, right? So
yes.
the old Buicks had that you could switch the latches.
48 through
48,
50.
yeah. So you could go either direction with it, right?
Yep.
So
Yep.
and the Lincoln tipped to the front like a Corvette,
right?
It's because it's a unibody car, which I didn't really have big cars.
And the Fords. A lot of the Fords did that
Did
as well.
that? Okay, so then that nose piece is all one piece there. So, and that's pretty cool because that one there, I got the raise up and down when we were going through the lines at SEMA because it's hooked up to it got air ride there. So we just hook up an air ram and we use the tank air so I could just, it's not electric.
Right.
So it's kind of fun. So that's kind of the things that we do is each car, we want to give it a little something different. And I don't really remember. I think the customer just suggested that do we really want the hood to go the same way it used to go?
Well, the nice thing about that Lincoln is that the hood's pretty flat. So you can kind of do that without a lot of, yelling and screaming. The Buick hoods were real complex shape-wise. And one of our friends and our previous show guests, Greg Gott, has a 1950 Buick Dynaflow Special, and it's got that hood. And he purposely made it work, but he said it was a lot of headaches and hair pulling.
Yeah, it's heavy because Warren had that 48 Buick Roadmaster be called Lola. Then we were talking about naming cars, and I mean that one we just did it from one side, but we used a big electric ram, and of course you had all this structure in the hood. And it's like took 3 or 4 guys to lift the hood.
Weighed about 400 pounds by itself.
They're heavy.
Now, how much of your work on your cars is all steel? Do you just work with pretty much all steel? Do you do what do you call it?
Carbon fiber?
Carbon fiber and that kind of thing?
Yeah. So my brother, again, we learned from we were looking at the boatyard for a while. We learned a little bit more fiberglass, and so I mean, some of the old car or the fiberglass bodies when we first started doing street rods in the early '80s. We seen more of those to where we kind of evolved. So now fiberglass stuff is used for like that. The 64 Corvette, which is fiberglass, right? We put all new floorboards and firewall in. But like Cindy Warren's car, the GT39, it had a bunch of carbon fiber accents on it and that kind of thing. And then my brother may build something, out of fiberglass in his interior. Or we have a customer with a new vehicle that he had it supercharged, and we're building ground effects for this truck that they never did. But it's like my brother carved it out of clay, then used a plug, and then he did a mold, and then now the mold, and it's like I don't know if my client was really ready for how long it was going to take us, but
wow.
So so we try to use different aluminum composite stuff in our build.
So I'm going to back up quick. On that mold, and you've built these ground effects for the truck. Is that something you can actually now use and offer as a product for other truck owners?
Don't tell my brother that. No, I mean, we were teasing with the owner because we got it from, he got the GMC from Sanctuary Motors over there, and I built a car for Donnie at one time but fiberglass and then the molds, it's like, I don't think we really want to tool up unless we had somebody build them, that kind of thing.
Right.
So I think they're kind of a one-off deal at this point. The good thing is that since you already have the molds, if he were to run over something or something happened to him, we wouldn't have to start over. We could repair or replace. But I don't think we're going to get into making ground effects. Not quite yet, Steve. Sorry.
I've seen a lot of motorcycle guys that do that. They get into the bagger thing, and the next thing you know, they've got themselves or selling the aftermarket parts and stuff like that. But car a little different there.
Yeah.
Well, I would imagine that once having made something like that, if somebody wanted, a different version of it, you understand the process. You're already kind of there. It's not that you use the same molds, but you know what you're doing. The first one is always kind of a bunch of experimentation. The second one is like, all right, we did that before. We can make it quicker, easier, simpler, maybe.
And we got about a minute left, so I wanted to ask you, what do you find is probably the most inspiring thing about your job? Your company.
My wife. No. No.
Good
she
answer.
Was
That's
the
right answer.
Like,
I like it.
That's the right answer.
I think it's a connection with the customers because they become your friends, and the connection of building something. And I was laying underneath this car today, grinding and cutting, and something like it's still work, but it's like dude, for me, it's like building hot rods. My mom was talking about it on the way here. It's like that's the younger generation that we're looking for if they really want to work with their hands, because even if at the end of the day I got to scrap that thing, there's something about working with your hands that you're building things and you're creating things, and then nothing's perfect. You just, and each time you try to strive to be a little better at it.
I call it Imagineering. Imagineering is what I call it.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Disney
exactly.
calls it that
Disney
too.
calls it that too.
I've heard that before.
That's a good.
Maybe that's where I stole it.
That's a good term.
Well, Tim, this has been great having you on, and we're going to have all your information on our website and links and everything.
Yep, Divers, Street Rods.
That's right.
Thanks for having me, guys.
So you're listening to the greatest automotive information world in the known world, and cool hot rod story coming up next on Horsepower, Chrome, and Rust.
It's time for Cars Confidential, and we're back with another story from Lance Lambert.
Oh, yeah.
Here you go. Let her rip, Brady.
What do I got this week? You may be wondering. You probably would say that. I would say that. This, Lance, we were using Fenders, Fins, and Friends, which I'm holding up to the camera right now, even as we speak. One of Lance's 268 books.
I'm jealous because I didn't take pictures of all my buddies and their hot rods. And I look at his stuff, and he took pictures. I'm like, why didn't I take pictures of all? Well, you didn't think about it.
You didn't have a plan to be a media star like Lance did
when
he was 14.
Do you think he planned that?
I'm pretty sure he did.
Oh. Knowing him, I think so.
Maybe not. Who knows? That kept him from having to get a real job. Something to be said for that.
Yeah, well, he did it right.
This is a great story. This one, again, is from Fenders, Fins, and Friends, Confessions of a Car Guy, and this one is called The Unknown Thingy. So there sat our beautiful 1956 Cadillac just waiting to be borrowed. Borrowed? At 10 years of age, I had not yet had my first driving lesson, but I thought, well, how hard could it be? I mean, you climbed in, you turned the key, you moved that stick thingy, grabbed a hold of the steering wheel, you pushed on one of the pushy thingies on the floor, and then the Cadillac would do the rest. I'd seen my dad do it a lot of times. Even my creepy big sister Judy was driving the Cadillac, and I knew that I was much smarter than she was. So the day arrived for my self-taught driving lesson. I was home, alone, when I heard the Cadillac whisper to me, "No one will know if you take me for a little drive. No one will notice the baby-faced driver peeking through the steering wheel as he speeds majestically around the neighborhood." I didn't know what majestically meant, but it sounded good. So where the keys are, so just go ahead and drive me, said the Cadillac. The steady beckoning was more than I could resist, so out of the house and into the car I went. Okay, it was time to do the things I often watched my dad do to make the car move. I'd never seen my sister do any of these things because I was smart enough to never go with her for a ride. I put the key in the keyhole thingy, and I turned it, and just as I expected, the Cadillac started. I knew I was really smart, and this proved it. Now what? Well, my dad always grabbed the stick thingy and pulled on it, and the car always began moving. So I pulled on the shiny stick thingy, but nothing happened. I rocked the steering wheel from side to side, and still nothing happened. That's right. I remembered you also need to push on one of those pedal thingies on the floor. This was going to be great. I pushed a floor thingy, and I moved the steering wheel, but the car didn't move at all, although it did make noises like something was about to happen. I tried to remember what my dad always did, and again went through all the steps. The Cadillac groaned a bit, but just sat there. I was frustrated that my first self-taught driving lesson didn't appear to include any actual driving. I got out of the car, I returned the key to my parents' off-limits bedroom, and I tried to figure out how my creepy sister could make it go, but I, the smartest of the Lambert siblings, couldn't make it move at all. So later that week, I watched my dad very closely as he was about to start the car and drive the family to church. "Hey, Dad, what does that thingy on the side do?" I asked. "That's the emergency brake," he said as we pulled away from the curb. Well, maybe my sister was smarter than me after all. And I cannot help but chuckle at that for several reasons. First off, I was famous as a kid for getting the keys to the 56 Buick from my dad so that I could turn it around in front of the house when I was washing it, because the hose wasn't quite long enough to get to the other side of the guy. So sometimes it took a couple of blocks for me to turn the car around.
How old were you at that time?
I was about 11. But see, I also sort of cheated. I learned how to drive, if you want to call it that, running a tractor on my uncle's property in Montana. So first off, there was nothing you could hit that really mattered. And the tractor never went over about 6 miles an hour, so it was a pretty safe way to learn.
10 years and 11. I had to wait till I was about 13 to try to sneak my dad's vehicle out.
Yeah.
And we got it kind of going, but I didn't know how to drive a stick, so it didn't go too far. But my buddy had taken his parents' car around. What is it? I grew up in the 70s, and I'm 60, so I think there must just been such a streak of mischievousness from the 50s, 60s, and 70s that my kids just aren't this way. I don't know what it is.
Most of the cars now, let's face it, are automatics. I mean, there were an awful lot of manual transmissions back in the day. You could still get them, but honestly, automatics is much more prevalent.
Well, my mom and dad had a 65 Impala, and I'd steal that in the middle of the night and go see my girlfriend.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, see, we had a 63. Same thing. I mean, those big road boats, they were just...
The first time I come back home, I was so busy watching the speedometer and not where I was going. Mm-hmm. I hit a sack of like 12 mailboxes.
Oops.
And they all went right over the top of the car and on the ground.
Yeah, the 65 had a pretty good
I wasn't
bumper.
watching the speed limit after that. I was booking my way back home. Next morning, I'm looking to see if there's any damage on the car, and just a little black paint on the front bumper. Those mailboxes went right over the top of the car. And
the bumpers on those things were pretty sharp.
We all know that if our dads had caught us, we would have been whooped so hard for so long, and we would have been grounded. I would have. I mean, the belt would have come off, and I would have been grounded for quite some time.
I wouldn't tell my mom, but I told my dad. I fussed up to my dad, but not my mom. I know I was going to get it if I talked to my mom about it. But I sure took my dad aside, and I told him, just a little black paint there, Dad. But he still grounded me.
Oh, yes. Oh, yeah.
And he had the keys after that.
I wouldn't have got a whipping at all. I would have been dismembered and buried in the backyard, and they would never have found my body. It's real simple.
It's just, I'm just cringing because I just... Oh, what was it? Why do we have to be there?
The fun part about everybody has different growing up, but we had 3 cars with automatics, had 2 Buicks and a Chevy with automatics before we ever got a car that had a gear shift. And it was a 53 Ford station wagon that my dad bought for kind of a second car to haul the Boy Scouts around, and it had a 3 on the tree. I was like, I instinctively knew how to drive this car. And I'm happy to say that I did not completely lunch the transmission. It survived my
from the tractor experience.
From the tractor, yeah.
Sure.
Well, yeah. So I kind of had that, and of course I was a motorcycle guy. So
there you go.
I grew up with a stick shift, as probably a lot of you did, and but my sons have never, and so they learn on automatic. So we were down at the family farm, and Grandpa's got my father-in-law has a truck with a stick shift. So we took the boys out, each one of them, and put them in the car, and we were driving around on the field after the grass had been cut and removed. So they're out there running around, and I said, okay, finally, now let's get out on the road. And we went out on the road and went up and down, and they thought it was a lot of fun, and they've done that a couple times, and that's been about it. But yeah, they enjoyed. I'm like, there's something about a 4-speed or a stick shift, and you just it's so much more fun. And I bought my El Camino with an automatic because it was an SS and they didn't have. I looked for 6 months to try to find one with a stick shift. I couldn't find one, but I did find a number matcher bench seat, SS. But I'll tell you what, if I ever build a muscle car, I'm just going to put a 6-speed in it because that's what I want. I don't care if an automatic's faster. It's not as fun to me.
Well, you can still break the back wheels loose
Tim,
with
how
an
many,
automatic.
How
you
many,
just have to wind it up
How many cars do you build these
slam
days that might have a stick shift in them?
Not as many as we used to, but there's still, the 5 speeds have come out in the 6-speed manual transmissions. But
sure.
I think my brother's Audi is like the last year. The new cars just don't have them anymore.
No, they don't.
So it's getting more and more where they just they're just not out there. You know, I mean,
well, in the manual
we
automatics,
had them all manual.
too. I mean, you can paddle shift a lot of the new automatics if you really want to. It's not quite the same, but you can't have that feeling if you want to.
Yeah,
but
dude, if you ain't got a clutch to push in on your foot, it's like, come on.
Not really.
I know.
The same.
That's why I said it's like a paddle. It's like, wow, I don't know. Even because even like the Ferrari that we cut apart for doing for Rambo, it was a paddle shift car, but we wanted a gate shifter look because we wanted that old school Lusso Ferrari look. So I had the gated part because I get it. It's faster. It's racing amongst with Steve, but it's like sometimes it's like, dude, I had this Z06 Corvette for a while, and it was the C6 version, and second gear was getting ready to go out because I'd slam. I mean, you're doing 60 miles an hour in first gear. It was like a
bang in there,
mile car. So it's like there's not a lot of places you can use it, but it's like there's something about a manual transmission. I think you better put that in the El Camino. You can always put the automatic back in, and it's like save it.
Just keep the automatic.
Keep it all the same.
Keep it on the bench.
Yeah.
Yeah,
it's a Power Glide, isn't it?
What?
Isn't it a Power Glide?
No, it's a Turbo 400.
68?
Yeah.
Okay. Hey, thanks to Lance Lambert for letting us read stories out of his book. They're available on Amazon, of course, or through the Vintage Vehicle Show website. Your bookshelf would not be complete without him. Nathan Lipinski's weekly trivia question is next, plus a peek at next week's show. Put it in park and stick around.
Help us if you can. You're an El Camino man.
Yes, ladies and gentlemen, Steve Johan's favorite
El
song.
Camino Man.
Yeah, it's amazing that thing has no copyright on it because he uses the heck out of it every single week. Welcome back. This is Around the Wheel. This is where we usually talk about upcoming events and, of course, the Nathan Lipinski weekly automotive trivia question. Upcoming events is real easy. Everything has been canceled because of the stupid virus.
That's right.
I had a long conversation today. We're in the Pacific Northwest, and one of the big shows around here at the end of summer is the Edmonds Classic Car and Motorcycle Show. It usually happens the first weekend of September. And I had a long conversation today with Greg Urban, who's the president of the Chamber of Commerce down there, because there's some concern. It's far enough out from now. Are they going to have the show?
Right.
Well, that show is hinged upon money that they make from the Taste of Edmonds Food Festival, which is about 3-4 weeks ahead of that. And right now, the idea that they're going to have clearance to have a festival in the middle of downtown, they may not have it. If they don't have it, then the show is toast. So we just put up a message on the website for the car show today saying we're going to hold registrations until we know. This virus has messed up the car show circuit for the entire summer so far. It's really been disheartening.
Well,
and yet there are a lot of people who are doing they're doing cruises. They're not. It's not a show. It's a bunch of people who've got cars. They get together and they cruise to some location.
Sturgis just announced they're actually going to go.
Yeah, well, Sturgis is a little bit different, but I'm not sure that you could actually. I have this picture in my head of the South Dakota government saying, all right, all you 500,000 bikers in Sturgis, you have to wear masks. I just have this picture of how that's going to play out. I think they're going to go,
nobody's going to do that because I just read the boards, and a lot of people were saying, we're going, it's the 80th year, we're just going to camp, we'll do it like we used to. Well, the city of Sturgis came through and says it's official. We've given our thumbs up.
Sure.
And so, of course, you've got all the big parties and everything.
Yeah.
And I don't go there, but I'd have not a problem with it all.
I've been a few times. It's going to be okay. It's going to be just fine. So here's the deal. The trivia question last week was a pretty interesting one. And the idea was Mercedes-Benz, of course, is a landmark company. And what I asked was, what's the connection between Mercedes-Benz and Emil Jelinek? Emil Jelinek was a guy from way back in the beginning of the company, and he had something to do with Mercedes-Benz, and I left it vague on purpose.
Mm-hmm.
And as you might suspect, with this question being the Nathan Lipinski weekly automotive trivia question, Nathan came up with the answer, but he's only had partial answer. He knew that Emil Jelinek had to do, this was in 1900. Mercedes-Benz started out as the Daimler Motor Works. He was a board member there, and they were looking for a name for a race car that they were producing at the time. And Emil's daughter's name was Mercedes. And Daimler-Benz was the name of the company, so they named the race car Mercedes-Benz.
Wow.
And that's where it came from. So Nathan gets his namesake trivia
Racing
question.
in the 1900s.
Well, sure. It was very slow.
Yeah, but you just don't think. You think, well, cars weren't really doing anything until the 20s. No, they were. As soon as you built something, they were already racing.
Mine's faster than yours.
Yes.
That's universal.
It is.
Anyway, congratulations to Nathan. The next question is going to be a good one. Yearly styling changes. For decades, every car manufacturer made a new model every year. It was just some, thing that says, well, the last year's this, but the new Buick something or another looks like this. And it was, people waited for the reveals and everything. The question is, who came up with that idea? Changing the styling of American cars, and everybody did it, but American cars primarily. Who came up with that idea? And it's also fair to ask when, but if you know who, that's cool. You can get to us contact us at horsepowerchromeandrust.com. You can go to the Facebook page and put a message in there. You can go send us a smoke signal or throw a rock through the window. It's whatever works for you. You too could get your name plastered on the certificate containing the ever-popular bucket of Horsepower Chrome and Rust barn find dust. Hey, it's been a great show. Thanks to Tim Divers for coming in from Divers Street Rods. Thanks to Ron Foreman for being our new co-host. Welcome here, buddy. For Steve Johan and Ron Foreman, I am still Brady Wright saying take your foot to the floor, keep your eyes on the road, your hands on the wheel, and stick with us next week. We're going to trip the lights on another Horsepower Chrome and Rust.